Winners first. I feel like that's the way that this should go here on this show. So, Johnny, your team was incredibly impressive today. The floor is yours to expound upon that.
Yeah, I'm not prepared at all. I have no notes with my abomination of a background, by the way. But no, in all seriousness, like this team's won 8 games in 2 years. I told you guys off air they hadn't beaten Sean McVay in a decade, and they came out today and had the best performance of the Jonathan Gannon era, certainly, and something that was sorely, sorely due for this fan base. Like this beating that they had continually taken by the LA Rams, it was comical. It's not a rivalry. And yet, no Aaron Donald makes a huge difference. And I think we saw that today. But this is a statement game for Jonathan Gannon, Kyler Murray, and Marvin Harrison Jr. kind of absolutely asserting themselves into this 2024 landscape in the NFC. Because I think you look around the conference and there's some teams that are 2-0, but there's a lot of parity right now. Some teams like Dallas and San Francisco and Detroit that were true contenders last year, I still think they're going to be viable, but maybe they've taken a step back, talent-wise, coordinator-wise, for whatever reason. Can the Arizona Cardinals make up that difference? And I think we saw that today. Like I said this on our post-game show, I firmly believe this. Like the Arizona Cardinals, if they go 0-2 to this Rams team without Puka Nacua, with Cooper Kupp hobbling around, no Tyler Higbee, Stafford's missing a couple offensive linemen, no Aaron Donald, like if you're not going to beat them now, when are you going to beat them? And on the flip side, like is the LA Rams season over? They play San Francisco next week. They're out of players. Like I think effectively the Arizona Cardinals may or may not have just announced that the LA Rams are just not going to be viable this year. And I, for one, am 100% okay with that. But it starts and ends RK with the play of Kyler Murray. He's second in the NFL in QBR right now. We've seen this before. Like the people who are skeptics of K1, I get it. But I only come at it from like, can he play 17 games? Because when he plays 17 games, the Cardinals get at least 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio production. They are viable. They are in the playoff mix. They are en route to making the postseason most of the time. And so, like, you saw that on display. He's fully healthy for the first time, really, since his ACL. He had a complete offseason. He was able to come in and attack this offseason with his new playmakers like Marvin, with a guy like Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch. And the Cardinals are reaping the benefit of that. They absolutely could have gone the route of, we're going to take a Drake May or we're going to lose out for Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams. But Jonathan Gannon, Monty Ossenford said, no, we're just going to build this roster up around K1, whose contract, I think that's like 10th or 11th in the NFL right now, looks pretty good. So you saw Kyler Murray outplay Matthew Stafford today. And then finally, the Cardinals said, enough of this screwing around. We're sorry. We need a mulligan from last week. We didn't know what we were doing. They fed Marvin Harrison Jr. early and often, and they absolutely made the LA Rams pay. Marvin Harrison Jr. undressed Tre'Davious White up and down the field for a quarter and a half and promptly solidified himself as what I believe is the favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year now. So we're at the point with this team where, like, do they have deficiencies defensively? Absolutely, right? Can Kyler Murray get banged up as the season progresses? 100%. But there's no doubt that with Marvin Harrison Jr. playing like that today, which, I tweeted out and people can laugh at this, there were glimpses of Randy Moss. There were glimpses of Calvin Johnson. That's the kind of prodigy prospect that he was being hyped up to be, which is now laughable when they didn't use him last week against Buffalo. He had 134 yards and 2 touchdowns in almost just a single quarter of play. And then the Cardinals, they called the dogs off. They spread the ball around. He could have easily had 200 yards. And the Cardinals, this game was over by the early third quarter. So he's put himself in a position now to be very viable. I don't know how many games this team can win. If they play like that, I mean, they have the makings of a top 10 offense. There's no doubt about it. The defense played over their skis today. They had a lot of momentum because of the offense. That was great. Gannon's defense needed that. They are just they're talent starved at a couple positions that will bite them over the course of 17 games. But it was a fun one in Glendale, and I'm happy for Gannon to get this done.
I got a couple
little nuggets. I got a couple little Cardinals nuggets for you from our friends at True Media. Quickly, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s game today by the advanced analytics, yards per route run, 4th best game for a rookie receiver in the past 5 seasons. And then the Cardinals offense, this was their 2nd best offensive performance as a team this decade, after a 2008 game in which Kurt Warner threw over 100 yards to both Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden. So there you go.
Those seem good. Those numbers seem good.
Great
Not
little
bad.
nuggets there. I got to say, Johnny, there was a bunch of people.
I had all day. I had all day to look stuff up.
There's a bunch of people in the comments, hyping you up, kind of like saying like, "Don't let us down here, Johnny. We need you." And I feel like you delivered for them. You kind of.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I did my best, Marvin Harrison Jr. in the opening, and now I can just take the next 3 quarters off, I think.
Well, and speaking of Marvin Harrison Jr., we had Bo on last week, the other Bo, and he. We were kind of just asking about the vibe of the fan base, which is always the thing that I'm most interested in as we get everyone together here. And like, it was just so low because of the fact that, Marvin Harrison didn't get involved in that game and they lost and, they had a chance to win and all of that. And I just can't imagine how opposite the feelings are today. So take us inside Arizona. What's the feeling like today?
The only negative was that the game was over in the 3rd quarter, and so I had to remind people, "Hey, we're not going to go live until this game's over. Can everybody just sit tight?" And so that was a lot of fun. Continually tweeting out the link, like, "Hey guys, stick with us over this Clayton Tune 4th quarter throwaway possession." But no, I mean, it was night and day. I mean, like it's funny because the Cardinals, they pack the stadium, especially when they win, especially in the home opener. Perfect team to do it against. The Ram fans do not travel. So that's, capacity crowd, sold out, 99.9% are Cardinal fans. And then on top of it, RK, like, you cannot, I don't know if you guys have been following this, you can't buy a Marvin Harrison Jr. jersey yet. He is being sued by Fanatics. He and his dad, for whatever reason, they have a riff with Fanatics. Marvin signed something in college. They're trying to fight over money, and it's just not a good look right now. And so, like, everybody wants to pick up merch with MHA, you just can't find it. We do have our shameless plug, PHNXLocker.com, have the number 18 collection, and there was a ton of number 18 collections on display at State Farm Stadium today. So we're fired up about that. But I mean, I think you go from what was that blown lead in Buffalo? Are the Cardinals real? We're sick of moral victories. You were beating Buffalo 17-3. Finish the job because we know you're not going to beat McVay next week. Fast forward to now is like, yeah, there's an expectation, and this is kind of what I push back on my co-host Bo Brock every day on our show. The Cardinals have the makings of a playoff-level offense, and their defense, for whatever reason, just wasn't addressed in free agency. So are people going to be happy if this team goes like 8-9 and misses the postseason? No, they're not going to be happy. They're going to be disappointed, especially when you have a player like Kyler Murray in the peak of his playing powers and in his prime looking like this. So I think the fan base, we're going to get a whole lot of Kool-Aid drinking this week, and it's going to be like, if they beat Detroit, then they've got Washington coming into town, and they have an opportunity to put themselves in a position. The NFC West certainly looks down. I just mentioned, I think the Rams are dead. I think they're dead and buried. I don't think they're going to be viable for the rest of the year. So certainly not buying the fraudulent Seahawks beating Jacoby Brissett and Bo Nix. No offense, RK. So the Cardinals, I mean, they're a fun team. Can they get some stops along the way? That's the question.